How's your day going?
It's going pretty good. I have a very flipped sleeping schedule, so I woke up like an hour or two ago, which is just, yeah, it's not a great way to live. I'll tell you that.
Why is it flipped, if you don't mind me asking?
I honestly don't know. I think my body just it decides that's the way it is. I've tried to change it so many times in life, but for some reason, I can't sleep when it's dark outside. So I just pretend I'm a vampire usually and just go with that vibe.
I mean, it works. It's October, right?
Yeah, exactly.
You're the house that's all decorated with one light actually on while people are
Yes.
walking by at night.
Yes.
Or do you like October being like a Halloween month and all? Or
I love Halloween so much. And I'm so upset that I can't really celebrate it this year because it's like probably my favorite holiday. I it never lives up to the expectation that's in my mind, but I always strive for that just early 2000s dream that I had as a kid.
yeah, and I guess with Halloween now, it's gonna be really weird, especially with stuff going on. But
Yeah, definitely.
how have you been doing during the pandemic?
Well, so I have a disease, cystic fibrosis, and so I've really had to quarantine a lot. So it's been an adjustment. I'm surprisingly doing the best that I have in a long time during the pandemic, but there's also the moments of like I just want to hang out with people and I can't. So that's been that's taken some time to figure out, um but mostly I live with my mom, so I have company that way, and my siblings will come over and my nephews, so I'm not completely alone, which is nice.
Hey, you have family, and that's a good thing.
Yeah.
All right. Well, before we go further, let's just have you introduce yourself so people can put a voice to the face and a face to the voice.
All right. So, hi, my name is Megan Ashley. I am a theater film actor. I do some cosplay stuff, nothing too special, but I've dabbled in the film industry here in Utah, and hopefully soon I'll be able to get back into it.
Yeah, I bet that's been especially hard with everything.
Yeah, yeah. Oh, I want to get back into film so bad.
I do too. I have friends reaching out to me wanting to do projects in like November and December. And
Me too.
like, I don't know. I'm like, it really depends case by case, day by day. Like it's like
Yeah.
how many cases are there, and has there been a huge increase, or like is everybody going to be safe? So
Yeah. And I'm terrified of the test. I think they've started doing newer ones, but that one where they just shove the swab back into your no, thank you. I refuse to get tested that way for anything. I'd rather die.
Yeah, I don't know. I can only imagine how bad that is, because like trying to pluck a nose hair or something makes me cringe. So
yeah.
I guess that goes back even further than that, as in like,
I just like
surprise.
Imagine how it would feel. Ugh.
Yeah. And also like, I don't know, like like when you're swimming, like when you get water up your nose. And like,
yeah. And it just like burns.
And you start gagging, just like, ah.
Mm-hmm.
Would that be the reaction with people shoving it up your nose,
I know. I feel like I'd accidentally like jerk my head back and cause some problems.
Yeah, like how embarrassing is it going to be too? Like when they pull it back out and like all this snot is just clinging on it.
They actually, so I was in the hospital earlier this year and they wanted to test me for it.
Right.
And I was like, is there going to be boogers on it? Because that's like one of my biggest phobias, which is just great for like a mucus based disease. but like I have this phobia of all of that. And so they're like, yeah, probably. And I was like, nope, I'm not getting tested. No way.
It reminds me of I think it's the first Harry Potter film with the troll.
The troll.
He jabs the wand up the guy's nose.
So gross. Yeah.
So, I mean, as long as the COVID tests don't come out like that, then
yeah.
But
I think they're doing one where it's like just right in the nostril now. So
they're doing that.
I'd be more willing.
Also, they're doing saliva, but I don't know which.
Yeah.
I don't know which one's more accurate.
Mm-hmm.
Who knows? I haven't been tested yet, so I haven't had a reason to yet. Fingers crossed. My
goal during this pandemic is to never be tested and to never have a reason to be tested.
Yeah, I think it's a great goal. I think that's a goal that a lot of people would appreciate.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, there's a lot of people who screw that up for them. So,
yeah, don't I know it?
So, okay, how long have you been acting for then?
So I started acting in 2011. I got, I swallowed my nerves and I auditioned for a kids production in Clearfield City. And ever since then, I've been doing theater. And then I started film in 2015.
Do you think there's a distinct difference between the two, like style wise, like acting techniques?
There's definitely a difference. And I've seen a lot of people say, one or the other is more difficult. And I don't agree with that. I think they're both very difficult on very different levels. So, theater, it really is all about being bigger and being able to express authentic emotions on a larger scale.
Yeah.
And then film, you really have to dig deep and not have it planned out as much, because in theater, every little beat you need to be aware of just so you can project that. But in film, if you're not listening to your intuition and you're not in the moment, really, it can, come off as I'm forgetting the word, that just not true, not real emotions.
No, I get that. And I was thinking earlier, so I did stage crew stuff in high school. I was like backstage helping our theater department. And being part of that, I mean, you have to be there for every single rehearsal.
Yeah.
Like every single rehearsal. It's not even just like a question.
Yeah.
And they rehearse so much. And like you said, it's all about the beat, but there are filmmakers who do rehearsals and who do endless takes, which is in fact kind of rehearsing.
Yeah.
Essentially. I mean, if you're not going to use the take, it's a rehearsal, right?
Just practice. Yeah.
Yeah. So like, do you like rehearsing more, or how do you approach acting within film specifically?
So I love rehearsing in film because I just have a lot of anxiety. So I like to know exactly, make sure that I know exactly when to say things and just have that trust with my scene partner.
Yeah.
So I like to rehearse. I do definitely think there's such thing as too much rehearsal in film, because at some point you start to, when you do something again and again and you just
it's like really repetitive.
Start forgetting.
Yeah. Like saying your name over and over again.
Yeah. And so, exactly like that. So you just start losing focus. And so as I've done more film work and taken some more classes, I've learned to just rehearse up until, the moment that I feel like I've got it, and nothing past that. So like, as soon as I'm like, okay, I've done it through a few times and I haven't messed up, I'm going to stop, because if I keep going, I'm going to start reading into things that I'm doing and trying to tweak every little thing, and you just can't do that.
Yeah. And I guess, I mean, I think a lot of people know that with film, what you see on the screen is like probably the fifth or sixth take or whatever it is, right? But on plays and stuff, one shot.
Yeah.
Like that night of performance, you have that one opportunity to really kind of go through with it. And so, no, I totally sense that. I think personally there's too much rehearsal in film too. Like I think there is that point. And I think there are certain directors who are well known, like David Fincher, who does take after take. And I guess Kubrick was the same thing, but I don't know. I wonder if that's like more of like a theater background as well, though. Like if they had that.
Yeah, maybe.
Push, but what's a play or a movie or even like a book that kind of got you interested in acting?
So movies, definitely the Lord of the Rings trilogy. That series, I'm obsessed. I've been called a fake fan because I haven't read the books, but you know what? Tolkien has a very specific style of writing that is just not for me. But the movies are the most beautiful, timeless things I've ever witnessed, and I still sob every single time I watch them. I'm the type of person that if you watch them with me, we have to watch all 3 extended edition in one day. Like there's no breaks. If you take a break, you're weak.
Yeah, right? It's like this. I kind of view it with Star Wars too. Like you can't just like watch one.
Yeah.
In the day, like you watch at least the trilogy, like
exactly.
But yeah, no, extended. Go big or go home, right?
Yeah. You're going to tell me you're going to watch them and not watch Smeagol's transformation? I don't think so. Or like the scene that basically redeems Boromir completely. No.
I'll never forget. So one time, it was actually my first time trying scotch. I was drinking scotch and watching the extended. And it got to the point where they're like, oh, hey, switch over the disc because there are 2 discs for the extended. I'm like, switch it over. Like, aren't we like halfway like through? Like, isn't this like the 3rd act? And the first disc ends during the meeting.
Yeah.
And I realized there's still 2 hours left of another disc. This is amazing.
Yeah.
So yes, go big or go home.
Yeah. My family does not share the same views that I do. And so I'll try to get them to watch it. And the most infuriating sentence that any Lord of the Rings fan could hear is, it's too long. You're just like, but it needs to be.
That's the point.
I know. I cannot comprehend people who don't enjoy Lord of the Rings. I've never been able to.
I don't know if Graywell is still a store. It might be like one store, but back in the day, they had like a Blu-ray box set. And then I brought it up to the register and it was for a really good price. And the guy looks at me and he says, is that the only one? No, there's one more. Huh. Well, I'll just go pull that off. So that's fun. I think it's a fun franchise. Better than The Hobbit.
Oh yeah. Yeah. I watched the first 2 Hobbits and I just couldn't do the last one.
Well, the thing that pissed me off about those is The Hobbit's shorter than Lord of the Rings, number 1. But they still made 3 movies out of the shortest book.
Exactly. Absolutely unnecessary.
Right. I'm like 2 parts. I would have been okay with 2 parts. I mean, like, meet up with the Smog and then have the second movie. But yeah, The Hobbit. Yikes.
Yeah.
What is there a character that you kind of like were attached to during those movies that totally sparked your passion to pursue acting?
I mean, I could go on and on about all of them. I think the ones that really stood out to me were Arwen, of course, and Eowyn. Eowyn is like such an iconic character and so beautiful, and I love her, and she's one of my dream cosplays because she's just so cool.
This soundtrack's beautiful too.
I have that on my Spotify and I just listen to it all the time, but I cannot listen to Into the West without sobbing every time I hear that one.
Rip. Hurts hard. See, and so for me, I think so. I tell the story that like True Lies was a movie that kind of got me interested. I don't know if you've seen that with Arnold Schwarzenegger and Jamie Lee Curtis.
No.
It's like an old 90s James Cameron action flick. But I remember watching that with my dad, and I said, like, you know, who makes this? He's like the producers. For the longest time, I thought the producer, I mean, in hindsight, yeah, like definitely they
Yeah.
but like that wasn't what I was interested in. Like I wanted to know like who freaking made this, you know, from scratch to bottom or scratch to bottom. Yeah.
New saying, scratch to bottom.
Scratch to bottom, yeah. Where you kind of scratch it off and get to the bottom of it, right? But that's the movie that kind of sparked that, I guess, for me. But then I think about it, I'm like, oh, I always liked movies. Like Mask of Zorro was my jam back in the day when it first came out. But what year were you born in?
I was born in 99.
99. Okay, so yeah, I was okay. So those movies were before that. Before that, not much. I was born in 94. So like, there's not like that huge difference, but yeah, I think it's fun. But I also like writing a lot, like reading. Reading is my huge thing. And so like Lord of the Rings, like that's what got me into it as well. But Aragon, I don't know if you read that book.
Oh, the dragon.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's actually the first time I recognized that a movie could be awful based off a book.
Like, oh, okay.
Yeah, I was very upset by that movie because I really liked the book. But then you kind of realize the book's a ripoff of Lord of the Rings. And then you just question what is real. But what kind of stuff do you look for, like when you choose projects to work on then?
I think the first thing that I do is make sure that the people I would be working with are good people.
Yeah.
That's just like a personal thing. And then I just like to be a part of something. So I'm not too picky when it comes to jobs. And also I haven't gotten to that point where I can really be picky. So, but you know, I like compelling stories, and I like characters that I feel are important to that story.
Yeah.
So, you know, if it's a smaller part, I'm not going to, you know, try as hard. Of course, I always put my best into auditions, but just in terms of keeping up and, you know, being like, hey, so, to me, it's really just about being a part of a good story and making sure that I can bring something to make that story better, not in like a vain way, but you know, just like a
contribute to it.
Yeah. Like I would want to feel like I added something and that nobody else could really do what I had decided to do with the role. Yeah.
Well, I think that's like such an exciting thing too, because like if you're not working like on camera, like being an actor, you know, but like you're working with lighting or sound and you see the final product and you're kind of like trying to think, what was that night like? Or what was that day like when we shot this? And then realizing that like the decisions that were made and like how you did contribute to that in some way, you know, like that's fun. It's a very collective thing. And in the end, it's very unifying. I like cinema for that reason. It's just everybody meets together and creates magic. And then people ruin the magic by being like, well, this is how we did it. And people are mad that you tell them how you pulled it off because, well, that just shouldn't work that way. But we
did.
cheated. It works.
Yeah.
If you cheat in film, it's great.
Moral of the story, kids, is cheat when you're working in film.
Take shortcuts. Yeah. Fix it in post. No, don't do that.
Yeah.
So when you audition then, how do you prepare for an audition?
So I like to prepare on my own.
Mm-hmm.
I get really nervous reading with other people. So I will go over the script, and then I will take audio recordings of myself reading the other lines.
Right.
I'll go through that until I have the cues down, and then I'll start filming myself reading with it and just kind of evaluating if I want to change something. I used to really overthink things, and that led to some really disastrous auditions. I can think of one in particular that was and it was for a big director too. And it was just a nightmare. So I learned from that to just not overthink it, and to just keep in mind, that the nerves I'm feeling are also the feeling of excitement. And so I just repeat that to myself. And I try to remind myself that the director, the casting director, they all want you to be the right choice.
Yeah.
And so they're not sitting there most of them aren't sitting there going, well, let's see how much she messes this up. It's like, oh, hopefully this is the one. And so I just go in and I do my best acting job that I ever do, which is pretend to be confident. And I go in there and I imagine that I've already got the part. But not in a cocky way, because they don't like that, understandably, which I've also learned. And then I try very, very hard to just let it go from my brain when I'm done.
Well, I think you touched on it where they're not looking to make fun of people, right?
Yeah.
And even if you do mess up on the audition, there's still elements of it that they might like, that they see, or they didn't realize that they were looking for, And so it's always like a 50-50, like either it's a hit or it's not.
Yeah. I auditioned for a film last year, and the character at the end was supposed to light a bong. And, I have a lung disease, so I don't really have experience with that. And so I just they're like, okay, can you do the end part where you light the bong? And I was like, and so I just did a turning motion, and they started laughing. And I was like, what? And they're like, what is this? And I was like, I thought that's how you light a bong. I thought there was a little knob on the side or something, like an oil lamp. And so, that ended up getting me the part. I feel just how I was able to handle that situation instead of letting it get to me, And unfortunately, I had to drop the project for, stuff. But I think it's important to let your personality shine through.
Yeah.
Because even if, you don't think your personality would match up with the character that you're going for, either A, maybe they like that fresh take, or B, they see you as another character and you still get a job. So
that's nerve-wracking. I couldn't, I don't know. I'm not an actor, so this thought of auditioning terrifies me. But even so, for my project, Casey, who got the lead role, he actually initially tried out for a supporting role for the best friend. And I told him he could send in a different tape for the lead role if he wanted to, and it blew, just to see the difference.
The difference.
The difference. It's on a scale of pulling off one thing, and then on another scale, pulling off a whole different personality, and knowing him as a person too, just like totally blew my mind. Like, I think it's fun sitting on the other side of the camera. So
Yeah.
fun. But when's the moment that you kind of doubted yourself then?
I honestly, I think anytime I've doubted myself in film,
Yeah.
it's really been more of a personal thing, and thinking, how am I ever going to succeed with my disease? So that's taken some learning, and I'm still learning how to view me for myself and not what I lack in some areas. But I think with film, I don't really doubt myself so much, just because I already know there's such a small chance of getting a role.
Yeah.
That I just get excited if I'm requested for an audition. I was requested for a very minor, like 1 minute scene on the High School Musical series. And I was just so excited that I had been requested, and I didn't get the part, but just having that. And so I think my biggest self-doubts come from theater. And I think they happen at some point in every show, because there's so many talented performers that are all like triple threats. But I've learned to embrace the jealousy, but not make it some angry thing. Because I think it's okay to be jealous of other people, as long as you don't, like it. For example, I have friends that have gone out for roles in theater and film that I have. And when they, they'll get them. And of course I'm jealous because I wanted the role, but I also am able to recognize their talent and see how deserving they are. And so that really helps me handle that.
Well, do you have a favorite play then, or favorite theater musical?
It flips around a lot. I'd say Love Never Dies, which is the sequel to Phantom of the Opera and widely hated in the theater community.
But I didn't know it had a
sequel. Obsessed. It's most people tend to turn a blind eye towards it, because it's like Andrew Lloyd Webber wrote fan fiction about Phantom of the Opera and then made it a musical. So it's all the characters are out of character. And the plot is just all over the place. It's set in a carnival. It's whack, but I love it. I can't get over it. It's incredible.
Yeah, I had no idea it had a sequel. So, and I think that's one of, I'm not like a huge musical buff, but like that's one of my favorite musicals. Like, I even like the movie adaptation of it, and I'm mad I didn't get to. I'm mad that my school didn't do that when I was part of the stage crew stuff. We did like Little Mermaid and Grease, and Les Mis. It wasn't part of Les Mis though, but yeah, Family Opera is fun. I think. I mean, if this. How bad is the sequel though? Like, is it like just quirky bad, or is it just so bad it's good?
I see. It's hard because I love it.
Right.
So it's hard for me to understand why people hate it so much. The music is beautiful.
Mm-hmm.
It's basically the basic plot is it's 10 years later. Christine and Raoul are married, and they have a son, Gustav. And yeah, and they go to Coney Island to perform for this Mr. Y. And then it turns out that Mr. Y is the Phantom, and he fled to Coney Island to open Mr. Phantasmic or something like that. It's like a freak show. And so Madame Jerry and Meg are there. And it's, I think people hate it most because like Raoul is a drunken abuser, Madame Giry and Meg hate Christine now for whatever reason. And then
it's just left filled.
Yeah, but I love it because I'm a huge Phantom fan. Like, I love him. I know he's crazy and I would never want to be with him in real life, but in that musical, I would die for him. So I think I like it because it kind of humanizes him more. But
do you think they'll make a film adaptation of it?
There is a stage recording of it. I own it because
okay.
Yeah, it's the Australian cast, but it's beautifully shot.
Is the production value as good as Phantom of the Opera then? Like with this chandelier flying down and hitting the stage and stuff, or?
I would say so. There's this really cool set that's just like a bunch of roller coaster pieces. That every time I see it, I'm like, I just want to be on that set. That looks like so much fun. But yeah, it's beautiful. And I've also forced family to watch that and they didn't like it. But, we don't get to choose our family.
Yeah, my mom stopped taking movie recommendations from me because they're kind of out of left field as well. But like, I don't know. Have you seen Mandy with Nicolas Cage?
I haven't. No.
Yeah, I don't know if you'd like. I'm not going to recommend it because I know it has a very certain style to it that not a lot of people are like it. But I've forced her to watch it with me because I said it's metal as fuck, because it is metal as fuck. Mm-hmm. And she thought it was the most stupid thing ever. But
it's Nicolas Cage. It has to be good, right?
It's like Rage Cage. Like, I mean, he's like totally raging in it. It's fantastic. But I think a lot of that's kind of because I saw that in the theater when it was out. Like, it was at the Broadway, so super indie cult like vibes to it, and it got so absurd where people like nobody knew if they were supposed to laugh or clap. I mean, that's what it was. And then the more people got involved, like the more it just became badass. So I liked Mandy. I know a lot of my friends don't like it, but whatever. I mean, you should check it out if you really like Nicolas Cage. But
who doesn't? Who doesn't like Nicolas Cage?
I don't know. Here's the thing. Have you seen Community?
I haven't. It's on my list, but I have not gotten around to it.
You should watch it because there's an episode where they talk about Nicolas Cage and it's very meta. And it makes you question if he's a good actor or not.
Okay.
Does it? I know. That pitch isn't doing that justice. Just know one of the characters acts like Nicolas Cage, and it's probably the most brilliant thing that the show's pulled off. It's a real good show, by the way.
I have to check it out.
Yeah. What kind of TV shows and movies are you more into then?
So, I mean, I'm a massive fantasy fan. If anybody follows me on any social media, I constantly post about fantasy. So, and I dress up like an elf all the time because why not? So I tend to. My first reaction is to go towards fantasy shows. So if anything comes out like The Witcher, Lock and Key, of course, every show escapes me now. Outlander is a big one. Once Upon a Time, Supernatural, things like that. But I also have this need to just like constantly be binging something. So I've watched a lot of the Netflix originals. I'll watch Frontier, which is the Jason Momoa one. I love Parks and Rec. I love baking shows. I love Stranger Things. I'm pretty much just like, I just like to have a charcuterie of TV shows. but my first instinct is fantasy, and so The Witcher was the last one that really just blew my mind. So in love with that series, and I'm so excited for it to come out, season 2.
It got renewed for season 3.
It did?
I think hold on. Okay. Before anybody wants to quote me on that.
Be like, they said, Chaz said.
And then I'll say, look, I'm just a guy from Utah who doesn't know what the hell he's talking about half the time. It's seemingly confirmed according to IGN.
Gotcha.
And according to PC Gamer, it is definitely probably happening.
Yeah.
Even though it's definitely happening, it's probably happening.
Definitely, probably.
Sounds like a contradiction, but yeah. I haven't seen I saw one episode of The Witcher. I tried to play the video game because that's what it's based off of, which is based off of books. So I guess it's really just based off books.
Yeah.
But the video game, I rage quit because a werewolf kept killing me. And I just got fed up and said, you know what? This game was free. I don't need it. Yeah. So I haven't finished the game, unfortunately. But
yeah, I had to force. This was one of the shows that my mom actually enjoyed that I watched. But I had to force her through the first like 2 episodes.
Yeah.
Because, and if you ask anybody who stopped watching The Witcher, they're usually like, oh, I didn't even make it past episode 2. It's like, but it gets so good, so good. The first 2 episodes are just kind of like
setting it up.
Really heavy backstory.
Yeah. Yeah.
But
did your mom like it then?
Yeah, she ended up loving it. And I think she showed her husband, which he's not a big fantasy fan either. So I was like, did my job.
No, do you watch Game of Thrones, or did you watch Game of Thrones?
I did. Yeah.
How do you feel about the last season?
Here's the thing. I enjoy watching things and taking them at face value. So watching it, I was like, you know what? This is awesome. If this is the direction they want to go, I get it, you know? And then I started seeing everybody's complaints online.
Yep.
And I was like, well, you ruined it for me because you're right. This is stupid. And there makes no sense why any of this happened. But yeah, watching it, and I'm glad that that's how it worked out, because at least I got to enjoy it once before the dread set in.
Well, I get where people are going with it, because like that season was definitely rushed. I think that's something we can all agree on.
Yeah.
But it also had some of the most badass moments.
Well, Danny and the dragon wings will always be in my memory.
See, that's bad. And like
just that shot.
Well, and like my favorite episode of that season was actually the night battle that everybody complained about for being too dark.
Yeah.
And I wondered, I think, was it too dark? I mean, I don't know. It depends on the TV you're watching, because a lot of these TVs have smooth motion, which fucks everything up too. But also, like, it felt like it was kind of on purpose, because of like they showed fire all of a sudden in front of a White Walker, and like, and not being able to see it like added more to like the dude. If I was in that moment, like
yeah, exactly. It feels like you were in the yeah. Oh
my gosh!
Yeah.
And the music with that.
When I mean, spoiler alert, but when Arya kills the Night King, that piano music, I had that on loop for like 2 weeks after. It was so beautiful.
It's actually on my top played on my Spotify.
So good.
It is good. And like, it was such a good climatic moment. And a lot of people were pissed off because it felt like a lot of their theories, like they were just putting middle fingers to everybody who had a theory. Right.
Yeah.
And I think that was kind of lazy. I mean, I think we all agree it was kind of lazy, but like if it was set up properly, like it would have been great.
Yeah. And I think it made sense.
Yeah.
In that moment, like, of course, if she had the sneak attack, she would go for it. Like, there's no question. It's just that they've been building it up that Jon Snow was going to kill the Night King for 8 seasons. And then,
Well, have you played D&D?
I have, and I'm trying to find a group to play it again because I missed that.
So, I mean, it's kind of like, you know, let's say like the brute or the barbarian or whatever, like the swordsman, if you will, is fighting this boss. And then you have somebody who's like a rogue who's a sneak attack, and they get the crit and steals a kill. Like, it's going to piss off.
Or you get like a bard who just vicious mockeries it to death. And you're like, but you did nothing else. It's like one of those moments. In that sense, it's kind of fun thinking about it. But I
The way it ended, though, I think that's how it was always going to end. It's just the build up to it was not satisfying. And
yeah,
but to say that was a dumb ending, like,
yeah.
I mean, was it?
I think it's subjective.
Yeah.
You can be disappointed in it, of course, but I thought it all made sense. I think, like, Danny going crazy, it made sense, right? They'd been building this up that either she was going to be different or she was going to follow in her family's footsteps. And
she followed in her family's footsteps.
I know I have a lot of like Danny t-shirts that I'm ashamed to wear now because like what? I don't want to have this conversation if another fan sees me.
But I think we can all agree it wasn't as bad as the How I Met Your Mother finale or the Dexter finale. And
sorry, Robin and Barney should have been Endgame. Should have been.
It should have been, and they killed. I don't know. That finale pissed me off.
Yeah, that was a nightmare.
Well, yeah, on purpose because I actually really I liked the actress who played the mom, and I think like the character of the mom was so likable.
Yeah, and then they're like, "Oh, by the way, she got cancer."
Yeah, and like they took her away just like that, and then you're like, "Oh, so he's a single dad who's telling the story about his dead wife to his kids." Also,
the plot was always weird to me that he's like, "Here's all the women that I slept with." And I slept with your, sort of Aunt Robin.
But she's also your mom.
Yeah.
It's just weird. I don't know. I have mixed feelings about it. But, okay. What are some fun facts about trying to pursue acting? Like, what are some things you've learned along the way?
Ooh, that's a tough one. I think what I've most learned is how to see the value in what I have to offer. Mm-hmm. When you start out, unless you're really cocky, which isn't going to get you roles anyways, when you start out, you're going to think you are not anywhere near on the level that other people are.
Yeah.
And you might not be. But if you are willing to accept your weaknesses and willing to work on those, and then find a good support system. I have some amazing friends in the film community that, tag me in roles they think I'd be good for and give me advice whenever I ask and look out for me in the industry. That's really important because if you feel like everybody is against you, and I think that might just be, special to Utah, that everyone is a community for the most part here. It's, it's competitive, but it's not cutthroat. So, for example, Avery Pizzuto, incredibly talented actress, and an incredibly hard worker. We were both up for a role in the movie Trek a few years ago. And I was going in for callbacks and she was walking out, and the character had diabetes and Avery has diabetes. And she came out and she said, "Hey, they're going to ask you if you want a chair during your episode. And when you're in a diabetic episode, if that's the correct term, you would want to be sitting because it's hard to stand." And I thought it was incredibly, like, that moment will live forever in my brain, because the fact that she potentially risked her getting a role so that I was able to accurately portray the character immediately taught me that nobody's really out to get me in the industry. And she ended up getting the role because obviously she deserved it 100%. So I think find your community, whether that's through, working as an extra for a bit or taking film classes. Find your community and then accept that you're not the best of the best, and you will never be the best of the best. There's always going to be someone who's better for a role than you or better at portraying a certain character type than you. And that doesn't mean you can't go for those characters, but just be humble and have humility about your job. And at some point, things will start looking up if you're really focused on getting there.
And so, because you're talking about how she has diabetes and the character had diabetes, is there roles where you can relate to with your lung disease?
That was definitely the closest I got into. Just because at the time I was actually borderline diabetic, so I kind of had a little bit of a grasp, but usually it's the complete opposite. And, especially for characters my age, they don't tend to write, like sick girl. And so I haven't really had that opportunity yet. I've never been more cast in a stranger role than when I was cast as the pot smoker, because I was like, I don't know what I'm going to do here because I can't really like smoke. But yeah, unfortunately, I think the film industry or films in general are from an able perspective, right? Because most people in film are able-bodied.
Yeah.
And, I don't think that's anybody's fault, but I'd love to see more roles open up to just have it normalized, like, like maybe someday I'll get to play a character that, has CF, but that's not her whole plot line, like Emma in Bates Motel.
Right.
Which I had to stop watching that because the way they portrayed CF was just laughable. But I'd love not just, CF, but people in wheelchairs and people with just physical deformities like scoliosis or something, that it's not like a character thing, but just not everybody has to be like this perfect looking.
Yeah.
Because that's not how the world is,
Yeah.
So yeah.
Well, I mean, like Stranger Things, I forgot the actor's name. Plays Dustin, my favorite character. He has the tooth condition.
Mm-hmm.
Is that a tooth condition? I don't know.
I think it's a bone cranial
yeah,
plasma, something like that.
But they worked it into his character, and like I think it totally works.
Yeah.
Like it's just
exactly.
I like it when films do shine light on stuff like that, even if it's not the main focus, but like it definitely feels more real and raw,
Yeah. And it's like these are people that you would meet in the world. Because, not everybody looks like a Pretty Little Liars teenage, 30-year-old playing a 16-year-old.
Did you just make that reference? It's an old show.
Yeah.
What was it, like 2007?
Yeah.
13 years ago. Or My Secret Life of a Teenage Girl, whatever it was called. Like
the
pregnant one.
Pregnant, yeah.
Yeah. If you want soap opera, there you go. Teenage soap opera. My sisters liked those shows. I grew up in a household with 3 sisters, so they always watched Supernatural and all these Pretty Little Liars and all these shows. I was more into like the horror stuff and completely different. Supernatural. Okay, speaking of Supernatural, this is off topic. Are they on their last season now?
I think they finished. I think it was because I remember looking through Netflix a few weeks ago.
Okay.
Because I wanted to watch it again after it had finished. And I think that season 15 is up, and it only has 7 episodes, so I'm guessing that was the last season.
7 episodes?
Yeah.
Why so short?
I assume they die. I don't know.
They're like, hey, lucky number 7 dead.
Yeah.
It's just weird because like they have like 20 episodes like a season, something like that, right? It's one of those weekly TV shows. So 7's less. That's usually like a HBO kind of a thing.
Yeah.
That's interesting. I've stopped watching after season 6, so I have no idea.
I pushed through until like halfway through season 10.
Did it get ridiculous?
100%.
100%.
Yeah, it was yeah. I feel like they just started using fan fiction and adding that in. There was like a Hansel and Gretel episode where Dean gets turned into a teenager. Or like when I think there was an episode where Dean got turned into like half dog, and so he was attracted to poodles. I had to stop. It was too much for me.
That's weird.
Yeah.
Hey, we're going to have you turn to a half dog and you're going to be turned on by poodles.
Yeah, it was just.
How do you pitch that?
I know. We're like, we're going to give you 10 million this episode.
I mean, for 10 million, like, by all means, portray me any way you want, right?
If I must.
if you insist, yeah. Where do you hope like pursuing acting will take you? Like, where do you see yourself in the next 5 or 10 years or even a year?
I think my biggest goal is that someday I want to make the movie that I've been writing.
You okay? Well, okay. We'll come back to it. Keep going.
Okay. And I think honestly, at this point, as long as I can just have steady jobs working on film sets, of course, would I want to, get on bigger budget shows? I would prefer to be on a TV series. So I love that. But sorry, my sister keeps calling me. So yeah, I'd love to be on TV shows, but I think as long as I'm working steadily, I think that would be enough. And I think I haven't really set my goals too high just because of my disease. Not to keep bringing it up, but at least for now, for so long, I let my disease control my life. And just this year, I've been able to push past that and really open myself up to the possibility of more. And so at this point, I just want to do what I love until I can't. But I hope to develop some goals in the future once I start working more, and hopefully be able to fulfill some of those goals.
And I don't know if you want to touch on this, but I'm not super familiar with cystic fibrosis. What does that usually entail?
So there's over 1,000 different genetic mutations. Basically, everybody has the cystic fibrosis TR gene. I don't know what it's called. But it's genetic. You have to have a mutation from both the mom and dad. And it basically, it can affect different parts of your body, usually the lungs and the pancreas. So in your body, there are little valves that open up to let sodium chloride in, so to break up mucus. And when you have CF, those valves don't open, which is why I've been coughing this whole time, because the mucus just kind of builds up and builds up. And so it's a progressive disease. At some point, it's just like throughout your life, you just kind of slowly suffocate, which is difficult, but I don't like pity because it's just what I'm used to. So any kind of lung problems like it's difficult to exercise and I get sick very easily because, when you're healthy, the germs go in your lungs and the cilia kind of push it back up, but mine are coated in mucus. And so everything just kind of gets trapped in there. And then with your pancreas, it causes like digestive issues. And so people need bowel surgery sometimes. And the kind of end game for a lot of CFers is lung transplants, which I don't plan on getting. It's just not something that I think the average life expectancy afterwards is 5 years, and you only have a 50% chance of making it off the table. So I'm just kind of going to go with the flow. And whenever I die, like that's my time to die. But I want to, I like having it because it's given me a really unique view on life in that there's no reason to put off doing what you want to do. And you might have to find ways around it. I'm lucky enough to be on disability at the moment. So I don't have to, work, and I'm able to pursue acting full time when I'm able. But I just try to remind everybody that your life it can be over so fast.
Yeah.
Whether or not you're sick, you could be, hit by a car. And so there's no reason to do things that make you unhappy. There's no reason to keep people who make you unhappy in your life. And there's no reason to be, to like treat others badly, because everybody is suffering and everybody deserves love and everybody deserves to I don't know, there's no reason to belittle others for any reason, whether that's based on what they like. If I've seen so many adults pick on kids for liking TikTok or liking boy bands, or, there was the whole phase where people bullied the bronies. But
The bronies.
yeah, but I think everybody likes what they like, and I think everybody is just trying to find their way of living in the world. And so I'm grateful that my CF has given me empathy for others. And so that was very long-winded, but
no, yeah. I appreciate you talking about it. I don't know. It's weird for me to ask about it just because I feel like it's a little,
Yeah, a lot of people have that response, but I'm
like boundary, almost like stepping over the line. But I appreciate you being open about it and informing me about what it is, because that it kind of adds more to how hard it is probably to keep the balance of your personal life and acting, because acting is very hard. I mean, it can be very hard on the body and very extraneous, especially for doing theater, like that's constant moving.
Yeah.
For like 2.5 hours almost for a show. Yeah. So I can only imagine the balance you have to kind of take with that, and the approach you have to do with that, with your personal life and with what you want to pursue. And I think it's inspirational and great that you're not even letting that stop you, though.
Thank you.
Yeah, it takes a lot to acknowledge that, but then also not let it stop you, like you said, like to your advantage instead of letting it be a disadvantage, because we're all experiencing life.
Yeah.
So I appreciate you telling me about that. So thank you for taking that time.
Of course.
Going back to your story. Hold on. I'm not letting that drop quite yet. Is it like a script, or is it like a novel, or what?
It's a script. Yeah.
You don't have to dive into details if you don't want.
No, I'm good. So I started writing it in 2014.
Okay.
And it's just gone through so many revisions. because I've never trained in script writing, right? So I just have to keep learning.
Yeah.
But it's of course a fantasy. It's too much like Lord of the Rings for my liking, but I feel like most fantasy quest films are. There's no way around it. And even if it ever gets made, and even if it's the cheesiest thing ever, I'll just be happy because it's my baby. But it's basically, this kingdom gets. This is the tentative plot because it's always changing, but the citizens get run out of their kingdom by this evil sorceress, and there's this elven girl who starts having visions, but magic. Well, they thought magic had died out, and so she's like, okay, I'm going to go see what these are about, and she takes her friend and a few others with her, and they go to find the person that's in her visions. And then they encounter, sirens and a wyvern, and it kind of changes direction halfway through about what it is that they are looking for, because they learn some information. So that's the basic plot. I've tried to add in things. I don't want it to be. I want everybody to have a character that they can feel represented by in some sense. So there's a gay relationship. There's there's like the stereotype of elves are white people with blonde hair, but I want to, if I ever get around to casting it, I'm going to have it be, whoever's right for the role. I don't want it to be any kind of, this person has to be black and this person has to be white. I just want it to be, because, in like a lot of casting calls, they're like Caucasian, and it's like, is that necessary? And so, and I've tried to tackle some issues like abuse. And I think I started adding all this in because I really just wanted an outlet for what I'd gone through in life, but kind of in a fantasy setting, and to create a character. The main character is basically everything I want to be in a person. Like, she's been through some horrible things, but she's still really strong and brave, but also able to be vulnerable. And so, hopefully one day I actually finish writing it. I'm not great at I'm amazing for someone who's not been trained at heavily emotional scenes.
Yeah.
But anytime they have to travel somewhere in between plot points, I'm just like, what am I supposed to do? How much information do I put in here that's not going to be too much? So that's my biggest issue right now.
Well, and writing scripts is a lot different than writing prose.
Mm-hmm.
A lot different. But I think I will tell you that from when I was in school, a lot I took a screenwriting class where people would bring in their scripts and we'd have a table read the whole night, essentially, with all these different scripts, and we'd get feedback and stuff. And every semester there were fantasy scripts that were just so fun.
Yeah.
Even though I think we all admitted, like you said, like Lord of the Rings kind of set it's the peak, but
yeah.
There were a lot of creative ways people went about it, though, where it didn't feel like that. And it was, I don't know, almost sci-fi based too with fantasy, which is kind of like a fun genre blend. But I hope you make it, because it'd be fun to watch and fun to,
Yeah, I hope it happens.
Life. Yeah. keep at it. I mean, writing's hard though. And like the moments where they're traveling, like, you know, like those are moments that are kind of like, well, no action's happening. Like how is it moving the plot forward essentially? Right.
Mm-hmm.
But, and if you want, like, we could even talk like off the mic or whatever, or even another day, and I could give some insight into like how you could probably go about that. But that's up to you.
Yeah, that'd be great. Honestly, any help that I can get.
Yeah.
Would be.
I think it'd be fun. That'd be a fun thing to see brought to life. Fantasy. Here's the thing too. Like, so have you seen Kingdom of Heaven?
It sounds familiar.
With Orlando Bloom.
No, I guess not.
Has to deal with a king who has leprosy. It's about the Crusades, or not about the Crusades, but it's during that time period. But I've always found myself so invested in these medieval fantasy films where there's like sword fighting and hand-to-hand combat, because to me that's so much more exciting than the generic war films that we know today, because I don't know, they're just shooting from far away and there's like no close to
I think it seems a lot more intense when they're right there, because you know when you I can't remember, there was like a war film that my family made me watch. It was that one about like the cliff and some guy has to like bring his buddies back to
the one with Andrew Garfield. Hacksaw Ridge.
Yeah. So I watched that one and I was like, I mean,
that's brutal.
It was a great film, but it was also like when it was just the shooting at each other, it was like, okay, there's not much to catch my eye. It's just shooting. But with sword fighting, there's so many, like, you have to have incredible cinematographers and it's more dynamic.
Have you seen I think it's 2014, maybe it's 2015, but it's a film version of Macbeth?
I haven't.
I'll send you a link just to the opening scene, because it's like of a battle, but it's slow motion.
Oh, nice.
And it's gorgeous.
The Witcher has some gorgeous sword fighting cinematography.
Yes. That's one thing I noted watching that first couple episodes. Like that, it was brutal. Like when he stabs some guy through the throat to the wall.
Yeah, and I think that like that whole scene was one shot, and so he just like had to.
Yeah, that's the thing too. Like the stuff that goes into like filming action with like how many takes you're doing, how many cuts, how many angles, you know. There's a lot that goes into it. It's just more than like shoot and point and shoot, point shoot. Sorry, I'm reversing stuff today, but I love it though. What are your fears of acting?
I think my biggest fear is that I won't get to do it again. Because you just never know.
Yeah.
I think I'm honestly worried that like I'd be afraid if I got notoriety because I don't want to be followed. I just want to do my art and enjoy it. And I think, you know, I have a lot of sympathy for celebrities because they at some point in their lives, they just stop enjoying it. And they, you know, they might find a way to enjoy it again, but so there's that. I think honestly, most of my fears are just like, once again, like personal based. So I'm worried that on a set, I'll somehow come across as, you know, really mean or bitchy at some point and that someone won't want to work with me again because I I have my days for sure, but I feel like I'm always trying to be the nicest, most respectful person I can. And I never want to make anyone think that I think I'm better than them, So I don't really have any fears in the sense of my career. It's just more, I don't want anybody else to have a bad experience because of me.
I think that's a relatable fear.
Yeah.
Because like I've that's one of my fears as well, actually. Is what if I ruin somebody's day and then they don't ever want to work with me again,
Yeah. You know what? I do have a fear, and it's that I get cast in a role and then I'm physically not able to do things like running scenes. That always stresses me out. I want to be in so many things, but then I'm like, but they'll probably run at some point in the movie. I can't. I would need like a stunt double just to do my running scenes.
Well, that's what stunt doubles are there for.
I know. I'm like, if you really want me for the role, you have to be okay that I can't run.
Like I love seeing like John Wick and Keanu, seeing how many of the stunts he's doing himself. Where I know for a fact there are people who'd be like, why do we not just have stunt doubles do it for us?
Yeah, I actually had to drop out of a role because I got cast as Harley Quinn. And I had told them I was not any acrobatic at all, but I guess they didn't see that part of my message. So they're like, okay, can you do a kick up? And I was like, a what? And it was like 7th grade gym class all over again. All these people watching me trying to do a kick up, and I have no physical strength whatsoever. And I was just like, I'm sorry, I can't do it. And they're like, that's fine. We'll figure something else out. But so I ended up having to leave that project. But
well, then you and Harley Quinn, for example, like I've seen some of the TikToks that you've posted on your Facebook. I think you pull that character off well.
Thank you. She is so much fun. I love doing Harley.
Yeah, and there's one video where you I think you were holding a bat. Were you holding a bat? Yeah.
Yeah.
And you were, because I watched the newest movie, the what do you call it?
The Birds of Prey.
Birds of Prey. Yeah, I saw that on HBO, and then I went on Facebook and actually saw yours that same day, and I was so like, whoa. Like I just watched this on the big screen. Like I thought it was really well done. So
thank you.
Yeah, cosplaying. I don't cosplay. Do you how often do you cosplay?
I do it every so often. Especially in quarantine, I've really gotten more into it. Even if it's just like basic closet cosplays. But it keeps me creative.
Yeah.
And it gives me an outlet to embody a character, because I always have this itch to just, do something else and be someone else and see the world through someone else's eyes for a minute. And so I have, most of the time, because I'm not rich, I just do original characters. So like I'll do vampire characters or elf characters. But when I have the money, I just recently did Vixalia from Critical Role.
What's Critical Role?
So that is a YouTube series where a bunch of voice actors play Dungeons and Dragons.
Oh yeah, okay.
Yeah, it's amazing. I highly recommend it. So I've been cosplaying one of the characters from that and posting that to my TikTok. I definitely did not spend $200 on her costume. I don't know what you're talking about. But it was worth it. It was worth it. And it made me want to dye my hair black. So
that's all that matters in the end, if it's worth it.
Yeah.
It's not like you're dropping like $10,000 on a costume, right?
Exactly.
Like I'll justify that. I mean, for for example, when Metallica came through, all the general admission tickets were sold out. So I had to spend extra money. Like more money than I've actually thought I'd ever spend at a concert. And then I added another ticket to it so I could invite a friend. But I don't regret it at all.
Yeah. I think
it was worth it.
Yeah. And I think some experiences are worth it. And whether that's cosplay or whether that's, going to a concert with a friend, as long as it's really what you want,
Yeah. There's ways to justify it and have fun. Like,
yeah.
If you're not having fun, then what are you fucking doing?
Exactly.
No, okay, just a couple more things, and then we can start wrapping this up. But with TikTok, so that's kind of relevant in the sense that a certain somebody threatened to shut that down.
Yeah.
How would that have affected you?
Luckily, I'm not like a huge creator there. I do have a decent following. I have over 7,000 followers, which, but it luckily would not have affected me so much. But I have a lot of friends who would have really struggled because, they get financial help from their supporters, and if your supporters don't know where to find you, but I think there's other apps similar to TikTok. So people have started moving to those apps just in case. So I have a backup account on another app in case I need to. And I've started saving all of my videos. So if I need to, I can upload them there. But, for the most part, I don't do it for attention. Of course, any type of art that you put out in the world, you want attention from it. So I'm not going to say it's it's completely humble reasons, but I do just enjoy dressing up, and I've been dressing up for years, and so I don't think it would have been difficult for sure, because the reason I got so many followers is because I had one post last year go viral. And so it would definitely take a while to build that up again, but that's not really like the forefront of, what I'm striving for. So,
yeah, I don't personally have TikTok, but I'm curious about it just because I miss Vine so much.
Yeah.
And rest in peace, Vine. But it looks like a lot of TikTokers are now using that in the same way, where there's a lot of funny content on there.
Yeah. I have gotten like 3 or 4 people who said they would never download TikTok to download it and enjoy it. And I think like 3 of those people are older than me by like 10 years. So I think it's a multi-generational thing as long as you're willing to try it. I was very against it because I was like one of those people that's like, oh, everybody else likes it. But this app made me completely change my mind on things like that. And of course, no matter what social media site you're on, there's going to be cringy stuff, and there's definitely cringy stuff. But there's groups for every type of person. If you like sewing, if you like cottagecore, cosplay, there's unfortunately cottagecore is like, it's like an aesthetic, like a lifestyle aesthetic. So like you make your own breads and you make ink, and so
I thought it was gonna be like somebody listening to hardcore music while eating cottage cheese or something.
Yeah, it actually perfect description. And unfortunately, there's even, what they call kink talk, which is just,
interesting,
40-year-old people.
I already know what that is.
Yeah. So there's groups for everybody.
That'd be what weird.
And the cringe has kind of evolved into more self-aware. So now there's like purposefully cringy videos that are just hilarious, and So, I mean, I don't think it's for everybody, but I think everybody should give it a chance.
Yeah, I don't know. I followed, I think, 3 people from Vine when that was a thing on Twitter. And I think what TikToks allow them to do is post longer content.
Yeah.
Which is nice, but I don't know. I'm curious about it, and I've gone out my way to go to TikTok's website to find like one certain video. And it's always like, we should download and make it easier. And then I'm like, but privacy, no. Because that's my biggest concern is like the whole privacy with China and all that. But I don't know. I'm open to it though. Like I even think sometimes I'm like, would this be a fun idea to like try to pull off on TikTok? Because even when Instagram was doing their Vine copy for a bit, I did I did this one video, which I'm super proud of, even though it's so stupid, but it's that song where the guy's like, like I'm in love with the cocoa or however it goes. And I put hot chocolate powder like on the counter and just like act like I was sniffing that. And then like, and that was the whole video. And I felt really, I to this day, I'm still like, how did that not go viral? Because that was definitely the thing back in the day,
Yeah.
I even had friends being like, dude, this is great. But
yeah. And I posted some on my Facebook because I really want more filmmakers to see, but there's a lot of incredible film work on TikTok. Some of it's edited in the app, some of it is edited somewhere else and then put in, but I've seen some amazing masterpieces on there that
if I'm not mistaken, there was a TikTok who was known for like the editing, like the transitions of like Power Rangers to like all these different TV shows. And I believe he got hired onto an actual project. Nobody quote me on that, but
yeah.
Think.
Yeah.
But I don't know. I'm open to it. Maybe, possibly. We'll see. Okay, 2 more things, and then we can start wrapping this up.
All right.
How do you hope you can inspire others?
Really just that no matter what you're struggling with, it's worth it to try to do what you love. Whether that's in the entertainment industry, whether you want to go to law school or become a public speaker, but you have stage fright, if it's something that you really want, there's absolutely no reason not to go after it, because when you're dead, you're dead. And, there's the debate of if there's heaven, but either way, we're here and nothing is guaranteed. And so there's no reason to think that you're not worth it or that you're not deserving of being happy or that you'll never get to where you want to be.
Yeah.
Because maybe you won't. Maybe you will never ever get to do the job that you want. But there's no harm in trying. The worst thing that happens is you don't get that. And then you can either choose to keep going after it or you can find a different dream. And so, I want people to see me with my disease, my 35% lung function, and be like, if she's going after what she wants, why wouldn't I be able to? And, I have worked. I have my disability and I've been close to death before in life, and I've still been able to do what I love. And even though it's been far and few between, those memories are so important to me. And they're what pull me through really difficult times. And so, I want people to hear that and to know that, and I don't try to speak for everybody with a disability, because someone in a wheelchair has a far different life experience than I do.
Yeah.
And the only thing we have in common is that we're both disabled. But, still go to these auditions if you're able to, and show them that if you're in a wheelchair, you can still act. There's nothing that is preventing that. Yeah, that's, just go after what you want.
Yeah, that kind of ties into what my last question was going to be, which is like, what's one piece of advice you'd give to others, and like, how do you apply it? But you kind of touched on that quite a bit.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, look, thank you for coming on.
Thank you so much for having me.
And where can people find you?
So I am on TikTok at Biscotti Hottie, and Hottie is spelled with an I. And then my cosplay Instagram, which I don't really post on that much, but maybe one day I will, is Biscotti Hottie Cosplay. And so that's
what's Biscotti? Like, what's the
Biscotti? I don't know. I just like, when I made my TikTok, before I was even going to post videos, I just was like, Biscotti Hottie. And then it kind of stuck. The only thing, I've never even had biscotti. I just was like,
what even is biscotti though? Is that a food?
Yeah, it's like a stale, I don't want to say stale because it's supposed to be, but it's like a hard biscuit that I think you like dip in coffee or something. They're like the long.
I know what you're talking about. I didn't know they had a name. I thought they were just called those things you dip in coffee.
Coffee sticks.
Essentially, yeah. So, biscotti hot. Okay, biscotti. It rhymes. It goes off the tongue, and it's pretty.
Right. I was like, this is actually not too bad.
Yeah.
I know people on TikTok call me biscotti, and I'm like, okay, I'll take it.
Yeah, it's like a nickname.
Yeah.
But like a Pinciotti. Joey Pinciotti,
Yeah.
Is that his last name? That's his last name, friends. I think it's his last name.
Joey. It's been so long since I've seen that show.
Joey Pinciotti?
Joey.
Am I just imagining stuff?
I thought it started with an M.
Tribbiani. There we go.
Trivia, the most important part of this conversation. Joey Mascarpone.
Who's just, I don't know. I watched too much television. Probably mixed it up. Okay, and so that's on TikTok and Instagram and anywhere else, Twitter?
Nope. I've never learned how to use Twitter.
I love Twitter. I was actually talking to Brendan,
mm-hmm.
who is he'll be the guy. By the time this airs, it'll be like the last episode. Yeah. But him and I were talking about Twitter, and he's like, "Dude, I've heard such like a shit show, like a trash fire." I'm like, well, I mean, definitely it can be, but also like Twitter is great for a lot of reasons if you follow the right people.
Yeah, like I have a Twitter and I use it to like keep up on the news and stuff, but I've never understood how to like interact with other people, how to like get any type of following. It's always been confusing to me. Such a strange format.
Well, and this is like my second Twitter, I think. I deleted my first one, which I kind of regret because I had at the time like 700 followers, which I thought was a lot, because now I only have like 250 or 300. Yeah. And I have had this for like 5 years. So like you said, I don't know how to grow on it. Like I just like to follow people, and then it's actually my shit posting site. Stuff I don't say on Facebook, even though Facebook slowly become that. But
yeah,
it's been a year.
It really has.
Okay, well, no, seriously, thank you for coming on. I appreciate it a lot.
Thank you for asking me, of all people.
Yeah, well, seeing the Harley Quinn stuff, the videos you posted on there, and then seeing, it was actually the trailer you posted was I'm Thinking of Ending Things, and you were talking about the acting in that, on Facebook and saying like how good that looked. And I was like, dude, she's an actress. Okay. Like I get it now. So it only seemed fitting to ask you to come onto the show.
Thank you.
Especially because it was the night I asked you was a interesting night to say the least.
Yeah. Yeah.
I think that's how I'm like, well, that was a fun, interesting night. So
yeah.
Talk about the debate, but
yeah, which was just, if I still think that we're all in our own Truman Show at this point. There's no way that we're not. There's just no way. I hope that there's no way.
You would think, right?
I hope that this is all a show and
we're going to wake up and
yeah. And everyone will be like, you look so funny when you thought that this actually happened. And I'll be like, oh, you got me.
Yeah. I think 2020 has just been like, did that really happen?
Really? It's like, at this point, you're like, oh, there's like ice zombies underneath Antarctica. Okay. I think that was like a thing that they found like it was just recently, this team went into a cavern in Antarctica and they said they had to fight something down there. I'll have to send you the link. I don't know if it's real, but at this point I wouldn't be surprised.
Because the latest thing on Twitter that I saw was they unearthed a mummy tomb and they were opening it and people were just like, well, Brendan Fraser's going to be very disappointed in you.
Yeah.
It's like, we have not learned anything. We don't need to unleash another curse 2020.
Yeah.
Especially in like the end of 2020 when we thought like it's been bad.
Yeah.
It turns, I can't even imagine. And that's the thing too, is I was expecting, half joking, half not. I was actually expecting some like UFO mothership to emerge during the summer at some point, just because why not at that point, thankfully it never came to that.
Yeah.
Because that would have been, oof.
Look, as long as they're friendly, which I doubt they are, like, why would they be? But as long as they're friendly, I say it's time. I'm ready to leave this planet. I'm ready to just vibe with the aliens.
Yeah.
Like,
you're like, I'm not like what they were like on Earth. There's no,
I know, please, please don't hold the actions of my peers against me.
That was them. I'm totally different. But it's fun to think about, at least. But all right. Everybody can follow the podcast on Facebook and Twitter and all that stuff.
Yes, do it.
Do it. Do it. That's all I got. Megan, thank you for coming on.
Yep, thank you.